I'm Brian Cooley with our Roadshow Editor-in-Chief, Tim Stevens. And now joining us, real pleasure to have Joe Lawrence here. He is Porsche Cars North America Chief Operating Officer. Joe, welcome to the Roadshow stage.
Thanks for having me.
So you've had a bunch of announcements today. Probably the biggest is the capital T turbo. We've been discussing how are you internally differentiating between the new 911, the 991.2, which has a turbocharger, and the new 911, 991.2 capital T turbo.
Well, that's not a bad way to put it with the capital T, because it really is the top range 911 turbo. And so even though now we have our 911 Carrera and Carrera S for the first time ever, also with a twin turbo engine, the 911 turbo is the top of the range. It means it is the top level 911, not only in terms of performance, but in terms of features, luxury, the top model. And you know, we've had that situation also with the Panamera and the Cayenne, where the S models also have twin turbo engines, and the turbo also has a twin turbo engine. But the turbo really becomes also a differentiator. So it's not just about the turbo engine, but about the positioning of the product. And as far as performance, it's a 3.8 liter twin turbo as opposed to a 3 liter twin turbo in the Carrera and Carrera S. So it's a much larger, much more powerful engine. Now 540 horsepower in the turbo, 580 in the Turbo S.
And 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, is that right?
You know, it's really great this year because we can say that every 911 turbo variant that we offer, and there's 4 of them, does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or less. So depending whether you get a coupe or a cab, a turbo or a Turbo S, you're anywhere from 2.8 to 3 seconds, 0 to 60.
Nice, clean dividing line, and
That's
you're
right.
at or below it in every case. You have an enormous number of 911 variants because you've got a passionate audience for 911, and they support that.
Yes.
And every model of car, and I'm not blowing smoke here, you guys don't ever have a dud. You're very careful about introducing new models, and as far as I can tell, they all fully sell.
Yeah.
You don't end up with any models that were like, hey, let's phase that one out.
Right.
But how do you resist that appetite to grow, and up against the exclusivity that helps to drive Porsche? How do you balance that?
Well,
Because you guys could keep going.
That's a great question. We get it often, and the interesting thing is, if you look at the 51,756 vehicles that we sold last year, that represents 0.3% of the U.S. market. And so even though it's more vehicles than we've ever sold in our history, first time ever over 50,000 units, we are still a tremendously exclusive brand. And you know, that figure really underlines that fact. And you mentioned all of the different variants of the 911, and that's kind of interesting too. I think the reason we're able to get away with that is that we have a large number of buyers that are spec ordering their vehicle. And so we're able to individualize the car exactly as they want. So if it was something where we had to stock a bunch of 911s at dealers, well, you don't want to have all those different variants. But because there's a high number of people spec ordering, hey, we let them have pretty much whatever they want.
And you're also streamlining a bit in terms of your names, at least. We're seeing the Cayman and the Boxster now come together. Can you walk us through the thinking behind that?
Yeah, interesting. So we will be later this year rolling out the 718 Boxster and 718 Cayman, and of course that's a new, not a new nameplate for Porsche, because of course we had it on a mid-engine race car in the 50s and 60s, very successful, and that's why we're bringing that persona also to the Boxster and Cayman. It does signal a bit of a repositioning where we're going to be more traditional with the Boxster being the roadster and being slightly higher positioned than the Cayman. Also the power will be the same between the two vehicles. And we're also moving to, you know, always keeping that mid-engine, which makes the Boxster and Cayman so special, but moving to a twin-turbo 4-cylinder with a new level of performance for that range, starting at 300 horsepower, So great
So
news.
Boxster and Cayman continue on as distinct lines, distinct nameplates, right?
Distinct nameplates, but
Sharing a platform.
tied together with 718.
Okay, 718 platform ties them together now, as opposed to have any difference under the hood. Under the skin.
Exactly. They always were based on the same platform. The Cayman typically had a little bit more power, and of course it's a hard top as opposed to a roadster. But now we will position them with the same power, and the Boxster being slightly positioned above in terms of price, which is normal in the industry when you have a coupe and a roadster.
Okay, so Boxster moves up a little bit, but they stay twins.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Question I've got for you, for the Porsche purists out there. I'm going to hit one for the readers of all the you know, Porsche Panamera and all the club magazines and enthusiast magazines, and they look at a show like this. Tim and I have been here all day documenting the march toward autonomy and driver assist and connectivity in every car maker here, and that's going to make some of your stalwarts nervous and say, stop. Keep a Porsche, at least 911, at least some good gutsy versions of Cayman and even Boxster and Autocross Delight. Where are you going to go in terms of resisting this trend toward increasing driver assist, and they would say intrusion?
Well, you know, I don't think we're going to resist toward that. I think we are more of the position that you can have your cake and eat it too. And we have already introduced some of our own technology moving toward autonomous, like lane change assist, active cruise control, these sorts of things you can now buy on Porsches as well. I think the idea is more about the quality of the drive. And when you're stuck in stop-and-go traffic, you know, it's still nice to be in a Porsche. It's great, you know, great interior, great ergonomics, all of that. But stop-and-go traffic, you're not exactly, you know, revving the car out to red line. So you want to make that drive as comfortable as it possibly can be, because, you know, we like to talk about our sports cars as everyday magic. It's not a car just for the track. It's not something you only take out on the weekends. It's something you can drive every day through the winter if you like. And so we want our drivers, we want our owners experiencing it every day. And if that means that we can make their commute a little bit more enjoyable with some types of features that are paving the way toward autonomous driving, great, without taking anything away from that weekend drive up in the mountains.
I guess in Panamera and Cayenne, absolutely, I expect that.
Right.
In the sports cars, it's more of a minefield, isn't it?
I don't think so, because again, you know, it's interesting. You referenced my time at Porsche Canada, and we, you know, I drove 911s all through the Toronto winter.
Through the winters.
Took my kids skiing in a 911 turbo, with the skis in between the rear seats. Put snow tires on it, all-wheel drive, perfecto. It was a wonderful car. So again, we stress Porsche provides everyday magic. It's not just meant for some special occasion. You can drive it every day.
Another step that some purists are a little bit concerned about is the change in powertrains. Some people don't like turbos, but ultimately there's also a bigger shift coming. That would be the shift away from gasoline altogether into an EV-based powertrain. We saw the Mission E last year. It was one of the most talked about concepts of the year, I think, and it was certainly a very beautiful car. And as we were discussing earlier, there's not a week that goes by that I don't get someone asking me, when am I going to get to drive the car, which is why I keep asking people from Porsche, when do I get to drive the car? So that car is going to happen, but when is it going to happen? What's it going to look like? And ultimately, when can Brian and I go take it for a spin?
Well, we confirmed early in December that we would be building a vehicle based on the Mission E concept, and that it would be available before the end of the decade. So that gives you some idea.
Time to save up a little bit.
Still
I don't think we're driving it this summer. No, just telling you.
So still some way to go there, but we are so excited about that project. I cannot tell you the number of calls I got from dealers, with customers clamoring to already get in line for this car. You know, it really made a statement with the design. Had to be the most amazing looking four-door I think that anyone's ever seen. But of course, it's what's under the skin that is really revolutionary for Porsche as a pure electric sports car, but with four doors, and with electric motors, front and rear, all-wheel drive. And we have some amazing statistics to live up to that we've promoted there. So over 600 horsepower, 0 to 60 in under 3.5 seconds. And I think most interestingly, 300-mile range and 80% charging of that battery within 15 minutes. So fantastic car, and we're confident in our engineers not only to build that car, but to make it a Porsche. And you mentioned the enthusiasts and, you know, will Porsche remain Porsche? I can tell you every day in this company we talk about Porsche will remain Porsche.
I always like to check in before we let any senior auto exec go. Which Porsche are you driving these days?
Good question. I am driving a wonderful car. I'm actually really proud of the way I spec'd this vehicle. I'm in love with it. I think I'm going to have to buy it. It is it's a 911 GTS, Carrera GTS, rear-wheel drive, stick shift, with rhodium silver, red interior with the little DuckTales spoiler.
I like
that
this
we
guy.
have, like the old
I like
early
this guy a lot.
70s RS.
That I think is the spec. You go toward the lower end. You go with the 6-speed. You don't need
Clean
all the
and
options.
lean.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely.
Beautiful color combo
seems
too.
to be
Yeah,
the way
that's
to
a
go.
hot
it's
looking
great.
car.
I love it.
I think
All
you've
right, when it
passed-
comes
you've
off
passed the
of,
test.
of executive loan and it goes
I'll let you
CPO,
know.
let us know.
Okay.
One of us.
If I don't buy it myself.
Right.
All right.